And here we are back in the school of order. Can we put that on off? Okay. Here we go.
Without light and order.
Can I go back a little bit? Let's start from here.
Okay. If we stop working and improving something, it loses order and becomes chaotic.
It loses order and becomes chaotic. Anything we stop working on. So, therefore, order is so important that sometimes it's preferable not to even create something or build something if you'll not be able to maintain it. And the way to maintain order is by enforcement. Enforcement. You've got to enforce it through constant observation and enforcement of the rules. Otherwise, entropy will set in, and the thing will begin to lose quality and standard. So anything we stop working on, anything we stop improving on, anything we stop controlling, managing, loses order and becomes chaotic. Some people in Nigeria, where we come from, they keep on talking about, oh, when Nigeria was good, oh, in the 70s, oh, in the 60s, oh, the Naira used to be 1-to-1. I don't want to hear those stories. I just want to fix something. I want to hear a solution. I don't want to hear complaints. If you cannot fix it, keep quiet. Let's look what we can do to fix things. And the whole idea is, even now it's going to be getting worse and worse if we don't put a system in place. And what does system do? Not to maintain order and not maintenance system, but improvement system. Because if you try to just maintain order, you stand put, you stay put in one place. And when you stay put in one place, you are not improving. And you are not even staying put in one place. To stay put in one place means to go back, because time is going forward. Because momentum of life is forward moving. So when you stand in one place, you are actually moving. Because the earth is rotating around the sun. So which means that the earth is moving and you are starting in one place. So you are losing. You are going back. So it's not possible to maintain order. It is only possible to improve order. So you have to constantly improve on something. If you don't constantly improve, you are actually going back. You are digressing. So the best way to improve anything or maintain anything is to constantly improve it. And that's what I mean by maintenance here. But improve, that's why I talk about improving. So if we stop working and improving something, working on and improving something, it loses order and becomes gradually, it becomes chaotic. Okay, here we go.
Without light and order, you can get used to chaos and darkness, especially if you don't question and challenge everything around you.
Stop. Without light and order. Who can explain that phrase to me? Without light and order. Because it's not as simple as you people are thinking. Without light and order, you can get used to chaos and darkness. Without what kind of light? And without what kind of order? Anybody can come and explain that? Okay. What this is talking about is the same thing I just spoke about. Without constant infuse of knowledge, understanding, new knowledge, you cannot maintain anything in its order, in a perfect order. So for you to maintain a perfect system, you need to always have light. I'm not talking about physical light here. We are talking about the larger light, the inner light here. So you must constantly get new knowledge about a situation or a system or a mechanism or an entity for you to maintain it. So new light, you have to constantly seek for new light. That's why knowledge must be sought. The best thing you can do with your life is to constantly get more knowledge. Self-education is the number one duty and number one personal responsibility that you can give to yourself. It's the greatest gift you can give to yourself. Constantly securing yourself new light. Without light, light means understanding, light means knowledge, light means illumination, light means wisdom. So you must constantly get new one. So if you have a job, if you don't constantly get new light, it will come to chaotic. It will come to disorder. So you need light and you need order to work together at all times. Order brings boundaries. Orders bring definition. Order brings clarity. Order makes the picture visible and clearer so that you'll be able to act afterwards. So without those two combination of things, light and order, you get used to chaos because you perpetually be going to chaos. Things will be getting worse and worse. Darkness, confusion, especially if you don't question and challenge everything around you. Okay, we'll come back to this.
Chaos is self-propagating. It creates entropy.
You see, with chaos, you don't need to work on it. Chaos doesn't need effort. Things degenerate to chaos by itself. So what is the birth of chaos? What is the origin of chaos? The origin of chaos, therefore, is neglect, lack of improvement. The origin and the reason for chaos, therefore, is failure to constantly maintain more light or gain in more light and improve order. Failure to constantly bring in new light and order brings about indifference. And that indifference leads to chaos. So chaos is self-propagating. It creates entropy. What is entropy? Entropy is a state of things going from good to bad, then to worse, if no force is applied to push it the opposite direction. That is how quality is maintained. You must always push to the other direction, to the opposite direction.
What is entropy? The idea of entropy comes from a principle of thermodynamics dealing with energy. It usually refers to the idea that everything in the universe eventually moves from order to disorder. And
everything eventually moves from order to disorder. So that means if you take United States of America or Holland or Finland or Sweden and you don't improve them, you just want to maintain, but not improve constantly, everything automatically, you don't need Satan, comes to the state of disengagement, chaos, when there is no constant pressure to improve. Okay?
All right. So it usually refers to the idea that everything in the universe eventually moves from order to disorder, and entropy is the measurement of that change.
Yep. Okay.
Entropy is the degradation of the matter and energy in the universe.
Okay, yeah.
or to an ultimate state of inert uniformity, a process of degradation or running down, or a trend to disorder.
Yeah. Now let's go back to the policeman film, please. The previous, there is a movie there, video. Yeah. This is the first one here.
Again, I'm pride. If Nigerian police taking pride.
You might not be.
We'll say.
See what is happening. Can you see the hand of the police?
I'm not on the phone.
They are supposed to maintain order.
Before.
See what is happening? So these people are meant to maintain order. Instead of maintaining order, they themselves are creating disorder and chaos. Remember that disorder itself doesn't even need any help. Put the other one, the last one, in the last page. Remember that disorder itself doesn't need any help naturally. Talk less of when you are helping it. Entropy comes sooner or later if there is no movement in the opposite direction, no pressure to improve. But when you are still contributing to making things worse, that is why things get spoiled faster in those societies, faster. So the forces of good must be overwhelming in a society for you to improve it. The forces that are pushing the society in the opposite direction must be like 80%. That's why every transformation...
12 most fascinating man-made islands.
We must have... what is that the last one? Okay, stop. We have seen this before, so that is not what that's not the one. The last page where I stopped. So in the country, the force of constructive, positive change, order, must be 80%. That's why every transformation must start with mental transformation. Emancipation of the mind. We must change our people's value system so that the greater number of people want to do the right thing. Then that force of 80 versus 20 can move the country forward. But if we don't focus on changing the people, the value system of the people first, we are never going to be able to change the country. Okay, let's see this film here. order. It's about knowledge. It's about value system. It's about action. It's about light. It's about order. This is what abandonment leads to. This is what neglect leads to. This is what indifference leads to. It leads to entropy. This is an example of entropy. But if you go to the other street, where somebody is living, where there was no abandonment, everything is new, like it's just being constructed at the same time, the same building. Neglect, abandonment, indifference leads to entropy. Entropy leads to chaos. Chaos leads to destruction and is self-propagating. Okay, thank you. Let's come back to my class. Okay.
Entropy is the degradation of the matter and energy in the universe to an ultimate state of inert uniformity, a process of degradation or running down, or a trend to disorder.
Okay, bring the cursor to the. It's not there. Bring it to the center.
Click, 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 click.
It's not. Okay, it's okay now.
Darkness and chaos will continue until a force of light and order comes.
Always remember those two combinations. Force of light and order. Not action yet. We already saw in Edo State. You already saw in Edo State what happens. And what happens in Edo State is they want to bring some change. They have a good idea to improve, but they didn't know that constructive change has to start with the force of light and the force of order. Any other change that starts with action without first of all sitting down to plan and to see clearly will create even more destruction and more chaos. Okay?
To stop, correct, or reverse a chaotic situation, there is a need for conscious and deliberate effort.
Yep.
Order does not come without the use of work, force, energy, power, persistence, and endurance.
Now, these are now all what comes after. Let's imagine that there is clear picture of what to do. So we have a clear picture of what to do, what to correct. Then physical work begins. But physical work begins after what? After light, picture, order, picture, clarity. Then we have work. Then, why do you need force? Because force is what pushes back entropy. The force to the other direction. And force is needed for work to be accomplished. Energy too is needed. Power, persistence, endurance. Now you understand why I write those books about energy? Because these are things people don't talk about. But you need them. But in our churches today, and in my country, Nigeria today, people run away from persistence. Because they think you don't have faith, or you don't believe in God, or God will do it. But nothing ever comes to order without the opposite force, without energy, without power, without persistence and endurance, and without force. Anything, either a spiritual thing you want to accomplish, any job you want to get done, any goal you want to get accomplished, must include work, force, energy, power, persistence, endurance. Our people don't want to endure anything anymore. Our people don't want to be persistent about anything. Everybody wants, microwave miracle, breakthrough, in Jesus' name, prophetic declaration. That is what everybody is now waiting for. Why do people go to church these days? Prophetic declaration. Now, this is New Year. In my country, everybody is prophesying. And if you see the thing people are writing in the New Year, even this whole week, people are writing things like, this year will be a year of this for you, prosperity for you. This year will be your year of favor. This year will be your year of breakthrough. This year will be your year of, abundance. This year will be those things don't come without force. You need to apply, even faith, you need to be forceful with faith. Force must be applied for it. Work, force must be applied. You need energy to be able to accomplish anything. Power is needed, persistence, endurance. I have not heard anybody say this year will be your year of endurance. Your year of persistence. Your year of energy, force, work. We just want to get something for nothing. That is no reality. It doesn't work like that. See all the all the prophets, all the bishops, they are telling people to fast for 20 days, 30 days, come for prophecy, come for that prophecy, come for this prophecy. It doesn't work by prophetic declaration. It will only rob you. It will only take money from you and give it to those people who are prophesying to you. They are after your money. Get smart. Get ready to work. Okay? We'll come back to this later.
The proper function of man is to live and not to exist. I shall not waste my days in trying to prolong them. I shall use my time.
You see, you need to live means to use your time. Put energy in it. Now, let's look at Nigeria here. This is a picture of countries, 15 countries that exported the highest amount of oil and the amount they made. So, it is in $1 billion, right? Nigeria is number 8 richest country from richest income, the richest country from oil in the world. We are number 8. We got the most money. Nigeria and Angola. This is every year for the past 40 years. We've been making money like this. But do you think you can see it? Other countries that are on the same level, like we are making the same money, like Kuwait, about the same amount of money. Iran, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, almost about the same amount of money we are making. Do you think you can compare us? You can't. Or Norway, we will make more money than Norway. More money than Mexico, more money than Qatar, than United Kingdom, than Kazakhstan. But those countries look like 100 times better than ours. Why? Order is what we need. Not that we don't have money. See the position we occupy. We are bringing in a lot of money. About this amount also is still coming from people in diaspora. Nigerians in diaspora, they even send in more money than this. About 30 billion is what they send. Oil gave us 27 billion last year, and diasporas gave us 30 billion. And all that, you think you can go and trace it? It's like nothing is sent, Papa. It's like nothing, actually, nothing is sent. You go to Nigeria, in fact, it's like it's getting worse. The more money you send there, the worse it looks. Why? It is not money that's our problem. It is order. See what is happening. Let's watch these videos. Comparison between Nigeria and another country that is making the same amount of money as we are making from oil. This is the same country that is making the same amount of money like we are making. See how they look. The first thing you will see here is not money, but order, orderliness. Order is number one thing you will see. Because we make the same amount of money. Somebody will say, but they are too small. But we too have other raw materials. We too have many more raw materials apart from oil. many more. We could also maximize that. We are also selling those. If you don't want Kuwait, let's go back to North Korea like yesterday. If you don't want North Korea, let's go back to Kigali, Rwanda like yesterday. I'm just telling you that we have the same amount of money as these people, but we are not making order like them. I'm just talking of order right now. I'm not talking about them giving money to every Kuwaiti that is born. I'm not talking about every month giving money to their citizens. I'm not talking about money that they get right now, standard of living. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about per capita. I'm just talking about order. Now, these people, they don't know how to do it, but they got foreigners to help them. They brought in expatriates. They brought in expertise, foreigners. You see, everything is clean like crazy. Order is more important than money. Now, where is Nigeria? Is he in this film or is coming? Let's now show you Nigeria. Yeah, let's see Nigeria. So I'm not talking about per capita income. I'm not talking about money, income. See, I'm just talking about order. Only one thing, order. See. So this is not talking about GDP. This is not talking about money that is coming in. This is just talking about, look, make you see order. Start it from the beginning. Let it play. Play arm. You see? Chaos. Chaotic. Everything is, no order. Lack of order is the biggest problem. You see? So our people need to be informed. We need to be trained mentally. We need to be coached. Our people, that's why I showed you, you remember the film I showed you about America? How they train their people. We need the same thing. We need the coaching, national training. Bring order to the mindset of people. Coach people how to drive in the street. You think anybody is coaching anybody? Coach people how to cross the road. Coach people, because they've not even seen it. Many of them have never traveled out. Coach them how to look after their houses. In how to take care of their surroundings. Not to carry things on their head.
In spite of the fact that 11 Nigerians were mentioned in Forbes' list of 40
Nigeria is rich.
Africa,
It's the richest country in Africa.
about 70% of
But where is it? Is that the way it is? Is that the way wealth is? Let's go back to that Rwanda again. Where is the Rwanda film? Show me the Rwanda. So that you will see that it's not just about, okay, show Lagos meanwhile. Let's be showing Lagos before you find Rwanda. So this is another Lagos here. Nothing works. Good cars, so you see there's money in the country. But see car, see lorry, see everything just stopped. Everything just stopped. So it's not that people cannot afford to buy car. They buy car but they cannot drive. Why? No order in the roads. You see buildings too are there, but nothing is functioning. People are walking with it. You see people are walking right in the middle of the, you see, but people are lying on the floor. Some people, you see, lack of order. So order itself is wealth. Order by itself is wealth. If you have money, you don't have order, you don't have anything. See, everybody's competing. No demarcation for anyone. No regulation, you see. The regulator is even there. He's not educated. I mean, he's not informed. He doesn't know how to do the job. And people are not even respecting him because there is no respect for law and order. So this is not about money. This is about order. Okay, now let's see Rwanda. So you see, it's not about the amount of money. Now, like I said, Rwanda is a country in Nigeria, in Africa that Lagos has about 10 times more money. One state in Nigeria has 10 times more money than that country of Rwanda. But because of order, see what is happening in Rwanda. See Rwanda here. Order, orderliness, serenity, peace. You would think you are in Europe. It's not about location. It's about the light and order. It's about understanding. It's about clarity. It's about the picture. It's about the head of the people involved. It's about the mind of the people involved. You see, trees are planted. Palm, it's like California, you know. Palm trees everywhere. Street light, but what are mark? Street marks. Lanes. Nothing like that in that Lagos we just saw. No lane, no mark, nothing. Order is greater than work money. Order is greater than resources. You see. So let's go back to my note, Jerry. It don't tire me. So that's why we need a system like the United States did in the 40s and 30s and 50s. It took them 30 years of educating their people. Now I know that Hollywood has gone their own way now. But before then, for many years, they were educating their people. And the country has been able to form a monogenetic value system. That even though people are coming from different parts of the world, but they have some standard of civilization.
About the proper arrangement of things.
So order is the proper arrangement of things. Order is the proper arrangement of things. What happened? Hello? It's me, eh? So what am I doing wrong? Is it from me? Okay, good. Then let's go. There is a video that we missed out on before now. Yeah. So let's see the wonders of order. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if we could do what America did to intentionally put a system in place whereby we educate our people, all those value systems that I came up with, and I didn't come up with them from the sky, they are all our national values. We need to ingrain them. We need to ingrain them in the people. Okay, let's go. This is just how nature
I'm a lawyer by
and
profession,
order.
but I'm an ocean lover by
Are we
passion.
here?
I grew up in a coastal belt.
You have to start again then.
It was so much fun.
So just see how beauty, just order, how order
My name is
creates
Afroz
beauty.
Shah. I'm a lawyer by profession, but I'm an ocean
Louder.
lover by
Can you
passion.
make it louder?
I grew up in a coastal belt.
You need the
It
microphone.
was so much fun. I used to swim on that beach. After my college days, I moved away from the ocean where I lived. And when I came back, suddenly I saw I'd lost my beach. So for me, it was a question of basic human right, you see.
This is India.
If my environment or my ocean is in dire strait, what do I do? I said, I'll wear my gloves.
Oh,
And that's the
should
first
do
day
that.
I went in October to clean up. And it's been a big journey of 60 weeks. And I couldn't do it alone. So I moved around the streets, met people. So I would explain
Okay.
what
Stop.
I'm
Remove
planning
the
to
something
do.
because he's speaking with a big accent. No, let it play. Just remove the
I
volume.
was rebuked. As every mission.
So the idea here is that he came home, he was away, see the beach. This is India. It's like Nigeria. But he organized. One man decided to bring back order to his environment. He organized people, neighbors, to remove everything and bring back heaven to his city. One man's effort. He's not even a governor, he's not a government official, he's nothing, not anybody. Just individuals working in awareness that I can make a difference, I can do something. This is India. The only place that can compete with Nigeria, I guess, and Bangladesh. Bangladesh and India and Sri Lanka, those are the people Nigeria is competing with. But one man can make a difference. Each one of us can begin to take responsibility for something. Begin to, let's even take the responsibility for our house, for our neighbors. Tell people, inform people. One man's effort can make a whole difference. You see? Now, after they did all that, it became the most beautiful beach in India. Clean it. It's like bad beach in Nigeria. They have killed it. But it takes a human being, a champion, to create another world. Okay, where is the next slide? But before we go on to the next slide, put on the light, let's hear what you people have to say about today's class. Tisha Gavarite. Where is anybody wants to share anything, or you have to all stand? What do you get from this class? It's not finished? But why did you tell me it was all? Okay, read it, please.
Yeah. Lessons about the proper arrangement of things. Order is capable of fixing any problem on earth. Don't pass by chaos and disorderliness, because whatever we neglect becomes chaotic.
Thank you. Okay, who is speaking first? Okay, let's all stand. Everybody standing. Put on the light. Get the other slide ready. So anybody wants to sit first, we come first to speak, then you can speak. You can sit after that. What have you learned tonight? Yep.
Yeah, I think for me, is the fact that when you mentioned that it is better not to
start any project,
any project if you know you don't have systems
capacity
in place
to maintain it, yeah.
to maintain it, because that's one problem we have in Nigeria. They see something overseas.
Nice.
They just come without investigating or doing their research to find out what system the nation has put in place to ensure that it's not just maintained, but it's constantly improved and constantly upgraded. We just come and we just build. And you discover that after a year or two, that beautiful structure, beautiful office, beautiful road just completely collapse. And because they don't have the system in place, they don't have the knowledge, the know-how of how to maintain it and how to keep it going, the whole thing just collapses. And it becomes an issue. That's why we have so many white elephant projects in Nigeria particularly. Sometimes they start a project and they can't even finish the project. the ones that are able to finish, they might not even use it. And the ones they use, they can't maintain it. And that's why, just like the example of university, I think Obafemi Awolowo University is just a classic example. And even University of Benin is also a classic example. They have all this mighty structure, but no system in place to actually make sure that those buildings are constantly updated. And from what DSA has taught us so far, if they understand the concept of building a system, then these things will just be how do I put it now? We talked about yielding from self-propagating, and you wouldn't need to put so much effort for things to just move. So I think it's one culture, and we need to imbibe in Nigeria to try and understand the importance of creating a system before you even go ahead to build to work on any project. It doesn't matter, it might be in the educational sector, the health sector, whatever. A system has to be in place so that we don't spend so much money and it all goes down the drain.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. The only thing that I want to add here, I just want to say it in general, because this is the problem it's not only the problem of Nigeria, I think this is an African problem. I think according to the way I was watching this video, to do the job without looking at the profile of that company that's going to build a certain thing, a road or something, they just pick up anybody as long as they are related or they are friends, and they give the tender to the person to build the road. At the end of the day, without making any investigation or looking at the profile of such a company. I think that is one of the most things that play a role, giving authority or responsibility to somebody who doesn't have an experience of doing such a job.
Okay.
Thank you. What was going through my mind while I was looking at the video and through the DSA lecture, it's actually Nigeria 20 years ago, 40 years ago wasn't as it is today. So, and it is because of the process of entropy.
Yeah.
Entropy
Okay, everybody in Nigeria is always saying that. Nigeria 10 years ago was good. 50 years ago was good. It wasn't like this. But what system did we put in place to move in the opposite direction? It has to be a greater force, like 60%, 80% greater force that is moving, intentionally moving in the opposite direction before order could be maintained or talk less of improvement.
So, and that's the point I'm coming back to, that it is because of the scripture says, my people perish because they don't have vision. So it is because of the greatest light which is missing. So, and as a result, we can't actually, when there's, the illumination is not there, and we can't form a picture. And if you cannot form a picture, so if we put a structure in there, then the purpose or the goal or the asset that we have, we cannot, that order, we can't put that order in place. So, and as a result, I think every one of us needs to do something. I'll tell a short story of a man who found himself in a barbish, and he saw loads of fish that's been washed out of the ocean. And he looked at it, and he doesn't know where to start. People are saying, you know what, how many fishes will you want to return back into the ocean? And he said, well, if it is one, then I have saved life. I've rescued one. So I think it is time for each and every one of us out there, every Nigerians, to actually really start doing something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to the class. Let's go back to our class. The next class on. I told you to get ready. Put off the light, please. Yep. Instead of the pastors teaching these things, they are busy prophesying. One lesson alone, teach for 1 whole year. Order everywhere. Order, order, order. Sit down, everyone. Teach order in every church, in every mosque, in every school. The whole country will change. If you do it for 20 years, 10 years, 5 years. Okay, can we go?
Law creates order.
Okay, the topic of today is law creates order. So this is the role of this is the second topic for today. This is a new topic. How do you title it? Do you title it in a way that people will know? Okay. Because this is another lesson now. This is lesson number 4. So the one of the greatest key to order and what that God himself created is law. Law is an instrument of order. Law is the reason why God came up with law is because he was pursuing the goal of order. The goal is order, law is the means. So law creates order. Whenever God wants to achieve order, he brings about law, he introduces law. Not just spiritually now, I'm talking of community society. So the need for order is what brought about law. Law, therefore, is as a result of the need for order. Laws, regulations, instructions, commandments, statutes, they are all requirements needed to maintain order. All of you who live in Europe or America or overseas, you are inundated with laws wherever you live. Laws everywhere, rules everywhere, regulations everywhere. That's why those societies work. The societies where they don't have any regard for laws don't work. There is always disorder, chaos, confusion, and disintegration in those kind of societies. So here we go. Law creates order. There is another class. Here, let's go.
Romans 13:1-4. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisted the power resisted the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger, to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil.
What God is trying to tell us here is that instituted authorities, government, is needed to maintain order. That's because God is a God of order, he instituted government. Because God is a God of order, he instituted what we call the chain of authority. The chain of what? The chain of authority? Am I talking right? Huh? Yeah, the chain of authority, yes. Hierarchy, chain of authority. So, yeah, chain of authority, chain of command, but of hierarchy. So government is from God. Why? Why does God need government? Because it's a God of order. Government, first of all, is to secure order. You know, when I listen to politicians in my country, they always talk about the role of the government. You know what they say? Oh, the role of the government is to make sure that they build infrastructures and they create conditions and, circumstances for people to be able to go do what they want. No. Number one role of the government is to bring about serenity through order, is to maintain order. And the number one instrument they need to use to maintain that order is through law. Authority, government is for maintaining order. You remember the first day we spoke, we showed that Lagos street where the woman was cooking. I think we can still show it now. You remember what Livio said? He said, do they have government there? Do they have government in that place? He said they don't have government there. So it is about the presence of government is judged by the order in the society. The presence of government could be judged by the amount of orderliness that is present in the nation or in the city. That is why I spoke to you about Botswana the other day. That is a small country compared to Nigeria, poor country, but it's one of the richest in Africa right now. Rwanda, the same thing. The countries that have order, they will experience better peace, better security, better progress, better prosperity than nations that government don't work. In Nigeria, for example, as far as I'm concerned, it's like we don't have government at all. For me, the worst government we have in Nigeria is not the central government. As far as I'm concerned, the central government in Nigeria is the best we have right now. But the worst government we have is the local government. But the state government, I think, sometimes is better than the local government. But the local government, they are the ones, to take care of the environment and it's like they don't even exist in Nigeria. The state, sometimes you could still notice the state government. But the local government, they just go there to shop. But the federal government is the only one that is somehow doing something. And they are the ones that are being criticized in Nigeria. People don't even know they are supposed to have local government or what the duties of the local government is supposed to be. So, authority, chain of authority, government, all these things, rulers, governors, president, all these people are administrators, first of all, to maintain order through law. Law helps maintain order. Okay?
Romans 13:5-8. Wherefore, ye must needs be subject, not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this cause pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor.
See order? Can you see order in those phrases? Render therefore. Can you read that again?
Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, and honor to whom honor. Owe no man anything but to love one another, for he that loveth another hath fulfilled the law.
Okay, I want to ask you people, any one of you who is willing to answer the question, or a few of you, how can this verse here, this is verse what? Render therefore to all men. Is that verse,
This is
7? Render, is that verse 7? Okay, verse 7 and 8. Oh, let's say verse 7. How can verse 7, for example, solve the problem of order and economic prosperity in a country, in a nation? Just verse 7 alone. How can verse 7 bring about peace, security, serenity, balance, prosperous country, and economically buoyant country? Hello, who is talking? Who is going to answer the question? Nobody yet? Then you all have to stand again. Okay, if he's coming, then you might just save the blush. Put on the light for him.
Thank you, sir. It was President Richard Nixon of the United States who said, and I quote, "We must be reminded that the greatness of America today does not lie in what the government has done for the people, but what the people has done for themselves and one another." So I see the root in this verse, which is asking us to give tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor, owing no man anything but to love. Okay, that's verse 8. So, okay, I thought you said 7 and 8. But just from here, we can see that just by obeying authority and doing what is right, and looking out for each other that they do the same, they've been able to build a sustainable economy, a sustainable society, that it does not even matter which government is in charge to a very large extent. The basis of their prosperity always remains. You'll see that, for example, the policies of President...
Stop. You didn't answer my question. You missed it because you are not here in the morning. So you don't know how to relate the question to the scripture and to the answer, to the practicality of the answer that I need to hear. So let's get somebody else, and you watch out to see how the answer will come. You want to try?
I think 7 says, render, is that 7? Render therefore
Yes.
all their dues. Tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear. What just came to mind is the fact that as citizens, we owe the government of the day, like he said, our obedience to the law, whatever law is on ground. But at the same time, we owe them, like for example, tax. I know like in Nigeria, tax collection is an issue. But apart from that, we also owe the government the need for their accountability. The government must be accountable to the people, and therefore, the people should demand the government to be accountable for whatever the government uses the money for. So I think if we get to a place whereby we, like Christ said, give to Caesar what is Caesar, and to God what is God. If we can identify ways that we can actually support the government of the day by obeying the laws, and like he said, starting first and foremost from ourselves, imbibing the culture of law and order, and at the same time demanding the same thing from the government.
Not a bad answer, but I guess I will have to give this one myself. Okay, look at the verse here. The verse is saying, render therefore, and I want you people to see how, close that. I want you people to see how I will answer this question. And this is what I showed you in the morning, how scriptures must come alive for you. Don't just read the Bible and know it in the head. What he came to do is, Victor came to do, he read the Bible, but he's not relating it to life. He's not using it to bring answer and solution. He's relating it to other knowledge that he has. He's bringing other knowledge that he has into bear. But other knowledge must be supportive. The question at hand is this one. So how do we use that one verse to solve the national problem of a country? That's my question. You are near. You are close. So what we do is, render therefore to all their dues, which means to a governor or to a head of state or to a politician. That tells me that every government must take it upon itself the duty of knowing all that live in the land. There is no way for you to render to all their dues if you don't know all. That calls for census. That calls for statistics. That calls for compulsory registration of all citizens and visitors in the land. If you don't have that, you don't have basis for government or for governance. So the idea is that governance must involve every citizen, every participant of the national life of that country. Now, I'm going to show you on the basis of one verse what I want, how I want you to answer. Then we will go back to the other previous verses, and I would like you now to come and answer for me how other verses there could help also bring order to Nigeria or to your country where you come from. But let's start with this one. Render therefore to all their dues. Did you find the logic in what I said about census, statistics, and registration, compulsory registration? Yes. Do you see the reason? Because that's the basis of order. If you don't have that, there is no need to say you have a government, which indeed means you don't really have government. What are you going to govern? What are you going to govern if you don't know who lives there, and the amount of people who live there, and the amount of people who don't live, if they live there or they don't live there? So there is nothing to govern when you don't have the amount of people when you don't know the amount of people you rule. Is it connected to this one? I touched no. So there is nothing to govern. There is nothing to govern if you don't know their names. So let's say you are a citizen of let's say you are a citizen of my country, and I don't even know that you exist. And there is no registration for you, no statistics for you, no figures for you. How will I be able to harness your resources? How will I be able to ask you to pay your dues? And how will the government pay its due to you? How will I be able to know your gift and channel your talents? How will you be able to contribute? How will we know the skills that you have that you can render to the next one that is there in your neighbor? Because there is no statistic for you, there is no statistic for him. He is in need, he is suffering. You are in need, you are suffering. Statistics, compulsory registration is therefore not an option when it comes to governance. It's not an option. Every government that comes to power must know everybody. There must be compulsory child birth certificate, or what do you call it? Registration and certificate. There must be compulsory death registration and certificate. There must be compulsory registration of address of residence. There must be compulsory registration of income. There also must be compulsory registration of education level. There must be compulsory registration of skills. There must be compulsory registration of certificates. There must be compulsory registration of potentials. There must be the compulsory registration of likes and dislikes and hobbies and interests. Now, that's what it takes to harness the resources of a nation. And everybody will now be rendering their dues to one another. That is order. Order is not just in roads. Order starts with the greatest capital you have, the human capital. Because there are 5 major sources of capital. One, which is time. Second is what? Space. Next one is what? Work. Hard work. Work. Then order. Then human capital. Okay, where is my verse? Thank you. Render therefore to how many?
All.
I can't get it.
All.
But if I don't know what your need is, even if I know that you exist, as my citizen, but I don't know your due. I mean, I don't know your needs. What will I render to you? I'm supposed to render to you some dues, some services. That's why there must be a record of your state, of your needs, of your desires, of your ambition, of your dream, of where you are now, of your certificate. Now, that is when we now begin to talk about the largeness of a nation being its wealth. There is no talking about the largeness of a nation being its wealth when we don't even know you exist. When there is even no record of you. We don't even know what you can contribute. So we cannot be saying right now the blessings of the largeness of our Nigeria is only indirect, informal, and passive contribution. Because you are not even recorded. You are not. But it's not just that you are doing something or contributing or not. But governance is not just even to know that you exist. But governance is the ability to be able to channel your human resources. All the resources, potential, and ability that you possess in yourself. The ability of the government to be able to actually channel it for maximum productivity and maximum result is the act of governance. You remember yesterday I spoke about 4 people. Can those 4 people come again? We'll put on the light, please. Yesterday I spoke about these 4 people. Who remember who he was? Business, education, health, sports. And we talked about maximizing. I was using the example of a pastor. That if I'm a pastor, the whole idea of being a pastor and being a successful pastor is to be able to know every member of your church, what are the resources they have, potentials they have, and maximizing them and releasing them to expand the kingdom of God and be able to release their potential and be able to actually maximize and carry out what is inside their potential. Same with a country. So just like I would do with 4 people, finding out their potentials, equipping them, developing them, and launching them out for their maximum productivity. So it is if it is 400 million. So the act of governance, therefore, and the act of leadership is the ability of the country, of the government, to be able to know all these 400 million people and be able to actually know their potential, their resources, and establish them, expand them, their human resources, be able to channel them and maximize them. What kind of country are you going to be talking about? Huh? Wow. It's going to be greater than America. That is why I was talking about how we can make Nigeria the greatest country in the world. But I'm not even this one is not written in that book yet, how to make Nigeria the greatest country. I'm not even talking about this one yet. Because this is order. I've not written about order yet. This is how to develop a country through order. But you stand aside first. Don't go away. Let's go back to that verse. I want you people to see what we are doing, what we are going to do next. You put it off already? Okay. No, let's do it. So, render therefore to all. It doesn't matter if it's 4 or 400 million. All must be involved and considered. Their dues. So for me to be able to render to them all their dues, I must know what his needs are, what his obligations are, and what are his needs. That's why we need the statistic. All that. So that alone, statistics of the land, we already begin to bring about development. Order in statistics, order in human resources, order in human potential, order in humans' desires, wants, and abilities, skills, and then the organizing and the channeling of the resources perfectly already brings about development. Okay, then we continue. Then it talks about tribute. Tribute to whom tribute? Now, what is tribute? There is this word tribute. Can you look for tribute synonyms of tribute or tribute? Because in the olden time, when in the time of Roman Empire, when this Bible was written, and when in the time of Jesus and the time of the disciples, people used to pay homages or tributes. It's different from tax, but yeah. But let's see what we can call it today. No, yeah, okay, yeah, go ahead. Not that one, not that particular tribute. There is another tribute. Okay, let's even say tribute. Let's say duties or obligations. Let's use that as a synonym. So everybody must have an obligation. Everybody has a duty to perform. Yes. Contribution. Oh, my daughter is here. Thank God. Glory to God. Contribution. Beautiful. That is the perfect idea. Perfect synonym. Contribution. Contribution. Can you imagine a society like that where we know about everybody's potential contribution? Where everybody has contribution, not money contribution, or that's the one the churches know these days. So. We are talking about human resources contribution. And the act of governance is the ability of the governors or rulers to be able to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to contribute. Mentally, socially, politically, economically. Sports, anything, opportunity to contribute, music, skills, opportunity to contribute. If we bring order into Nigeria in the area of statistics database and data analysis, and in the area of contribution to the community, to the society, to governance, to the nation. You tell me we cannot become a developed nation? Quick and fast if we pay attention to contribution of every individual. That is tribute. So contribution, everybody must contribute something. That will lead to development. All right. So you see, we are not talking about raw materials here. Oh. We are not talking about oil and gas. Oh. We are not talking about diamond and gold. Oh. Just management and governance. We are only talking about order. Bringing order to management. Bringing order to human management. To governance. Okay? So everybody must contribute. Right. Then, tribute to whom tribute is due. Custom to whom custom. This is now talking about tax. This is, custom is like taxation. So this could be custom. It could be custom like immigration. It could be taxation that come in through borders, or taxation, any form of taxation in the country. There is no need for any nation that is organized, that is in order to suffer poverty. There is no need for poverty, no justification for poverty where there is order. Because if there is order in statistics, if there is order in contribution, if there is order in human resources, if there is order in taxation and in contribution, there is no need for, there is no place for poverty. Because everybody is maximizing their potential, right? Everybody is maximizing their potential. And from that opportunity to maximize their potential, they are paying their dues and their taxes. And the need of the larger society is being met. So that's one verse. So how to develop a country through one verse. Then, fear to whom fear? Beautiful. Does fear belong to? Fear belongs to God and to authority, because the Bible says, he that is violating the law must fear authority. That means you build a society where law works, where law is supreme, where there is equality before the law, and law is above individuals. That's what you talk about fear. So everybody doesn't fear, nobody fears anybody, but everybody fears the law, not to violate the law. That's making the law work. Tell me a society where the law is above everybody else. Equality before the law. Law is above everybody. Nobody is above the law, that is. Everybody is afraid of violating the law. If there is order, that is another way to maximize the prosperity of a land through law, effectiveness of the law. Then, honor to whom honor. Now, what does that mean? Honor to whom honor. That means reward system. There must be reward system in the society. Reward and penalty. So people who excel in anything must be honored. So people know that anywhere they are good in anything they are good in, if they put in the effort, it means that it's a system of merit. So nobody gets employed when it's third class, when first class has not yet been employed. No third class gets employed before first class. That means that nobody gets employed because he knows somebody. Nobody gets into a position without merit. It means that it's only merit that's responsible for everything else. Hello? That's what government is about. That is the functionality of the government. And that's what government is supposed to be for. And that is why order and law secures order. And law and order brings about prosperity. This is how law and order should bring about prosperity to any nation. Now, let's go back to the beginning of these verses. And before you people go, you have to contribute and explain to me. Can you read again, please?
Right. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God.
Stop. Is it together? I mean, go ahead to this place.
The powers that are ordained, are ordained of God.
Start it all over again. That's verse 1, right?
Yes.
Start it all over again.
Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers.
Okay, stop. Let every soul be subject to higher power. How can this verse, is it a verse? Is it a full verse?
No.
It's not a full verse. Where does the verse end? Verse 1. Does it end there, or it ends on ordinance or to ordain of God? Where does verse 1 of end? God by God. Okay, read it, please. Read the whole verse 1. Ordained by God, yes.
Yeah. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. Mm-hmm. The powers that be are ordained of God.
Okay. This one verse alone can lead to national development and civilization. I want any one of you to come forward and prove that to me. Are you ready? None of you is ready. Anybody ready? Okay, let's come here. Take the microphone.
I think this is exactly like Pastor Sunday was saying. This is exactly what Pastor Sunday was saying literally 5 minutes before, how no person should be above the law. We have been told that every soul be subject unto the higher powers. We obviously know that God is the highest of powers, we also know that in the Bible, God says that we should submit to authority. If no person is above authority, which is the law, if no person can bribe their way out of anything, and putting this in the context of Nigeria, Nigerians aren't really afraid of the police. They're only afraid of being harassed for money. And this is just a fact. Corruption is so blatant. We watched the video earlier as the policeman was just collecting as if it was nothing, as if that's the everyday thing. So we know that what every soul be subject to the higher power, which would be the authority. National civilization, if it is strict, if there's an order, if there's a system, then there's no way that anybody will be able to break the system. So we have already established order, system, it leads to maturity, it leads to the national civilization that we want. So all we need, all this verse tells us to do is that as citizens, and as Victor said with Richard Nixon's code.
You are talking about it leading us to national civilization. That is a good point. What about to prosperity as well, or development? How does that verse lead to prosperity or development?
Okay, if you want to put it in the context of development, it's also about the duties of the government. The government tells, let's say as you were saying.
Read the verse, start with the verse.
Yeah, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. For there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Oh,
yeah, that's it. Yeah,
that's all. So we know that, as I said before, that the higher power that we're talking about is the government, it's the local government, etc. Local governments, they're responsible for the maintenance of the city, of the country. And when I was studying EU law, we were learning about how EU, they have their own base and the commission, and they're the ones that tell each member state of the EU what they have to do. Let's say they have to implement on the highways, they can only go 70 kilometers an hour. Like that's the max speed. They have 2 years to implement that directive. If they do not implement the directive within those 2 years, then they get fined, they could get a penalty sum and the lump sum of a fine, and they are forced to implement that directive right away if they did not implement it within those 2 years. Can you imagine anything with that order in Nigeria? If we have that order of central to local authority, the local authority which is responsible for the country for making, let's say, cleaning out the swamps so that you won't have malaria, every person will be contracting malaria every 6 months, which is a common thing in Nigeria. If we clean out the swamps, if we actually control the mosquito population, that's just like one small example of how it could lead to prosperity, because how much time do Nigerians spend in bed because of malaria? Even though they act as if it's nothing like a fever, it still impacts them, they're still sick. And this thing, you can't escape it by just like, let's say, being in a civilized place, because mosquitoes will still come find you because the swamp is right next to the city. So that's just one small example of how this following the government and the government actually doing its duty will actually lead to prosperity.
It will lead to, that is development you just spoke about, not prosperity. Prosperity is involved, what I mean by prosperity is more like economic prosperity. How can that improve the financial, economic data or prosperity of the nation?
Okay, if we want to put it, let's say in a financial context, the whole, what Pastor Sunday was talking about, how we need to know every person. Recently, I was visiting one of the people who works in the Nigerian embassy, and somebody else talked about how Nigeria doesn't have like a welfare system. And the person from the embassy was talking about how only in this Buhari government have they attempted to give 5,000 naira to the poorest of people. However, he said that this thing, it's impossible to make it last since nobody knows the correct population of Nigeria. And so when people say
but that is different. But that's why
it's
must always based on your verse. You have to read that.
Yeah, it's getting to here. I was just trying to give an example of how nobody knows the correct population of Nigeria. If you say 190 million, that's purely speculation, because it's not purely speculation. It's just a round figure. So in order to actually have let's say, a consistent financial basis, what the West and what Europe has done it through is through tax. Who collects tax? The government.
Beautiful.
How can the government collect tax if they don't know who to collect tax from?
Beautiful.
They don't know how many people they can collect tax from.
Beautiful.
That's literally impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, with the previous verses, with the every person needs to like have a, let's say, national ID card, tells the age, they need to know what income they take, because tax is based, not, income tax is based purely on income. How can we know, how can we give income tax if we don't know who's paid what, we don't know if they're even paid, especially in such a cash-based system? There needs to be some form of order which would say how much this person is paid, where even this person is from, et cetera, et cetera. Because it's ridiculous that even in the Bible times where
2,000 years ago.
2,000 years ago, where Joseph had to go back to Bethlehem in order for the consensus that was ordered by the emperor. So if they can do that 2,000 years ago, what excuse does Nigeria have today?
That will lead to prosperity.
And that will definitely lead to prosperity.
Beautiful, beautiful. Microphone, give microphone to whoever is next. Who wants to talk about that same verse again? Okay. Ezinwa is here. So you have to start by reading that verse.
It says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Is almost like the previous verse that you explained. It says, "Let every soul." It's still talking about everyone. Accountability.
Beautiful.
Census, gathering, knowing the number of people that are in the city, because when we discover the number of people, then we can know who is who, and that makes me to understand the reason why in most civilized country, why they gather immigrants, illegal immigrants, and send them home, because they want accountability. They want to know who is who. They want to know who is in their land. They want to know who is receiving what.
Now you are getting it.
Yes.
But our people say it's wickedness. These people are wicked though.
Yeah.
How can they be sending us back home? But you see now.
Yeah,
order. It's all because of order.
Yeah, because they want order. They want to know who is who. Like in
hello, tota priya da? Ah, okay.
Like the last time I went to Germany for just 2 days. Within 2 days, I was stopped like 2 times.
Wow.
And was being asked of document Ausweisbitte, something like that, and all those things. We nobody likes it, but now I understand they're trying to maintain order, because order is a great wealth. That's what this whole thing is. This verse is talking about.
This lady here, she has spent 4 days on the road trying to get here, and she was supposed to go back home because they kept on canceling her flight and putting her in hotel. I've never met her before, but she got here by all means. So let's give her. Usually rewarded like that. They sent her back to Washington D.C. hotel, or where were they? Dallas, D.C. Cancelled flight, and she's still having jet lag. Never met her before, and she did her best. She didn't give up. And that's why I didn't want to take her to the room. Let us stay here and feel the energy. Right? You would like to be here, or you like to go and sleep. Stop now. Or you don't feel it.
And then he talks about.
Everybody is here. We have many verses still to come.
It talks about it.
How can that lead to development and prosperity?
Yeah, and then he talks
Give
about
us something to drink or to eat. Okay.
And then he talks about subject unto the higher powers, which is telling us that exalting the law above every other person, above putting ourselves under the law for the system to work. And that is one of the major problems we also have in Nigeria. There are some people that are that are above the law in some certain situations, and that has actually brought a lot of things. Even when there is a jungle justice going on, sometimes there are police people there, but they can't control it because people are no longer afraid, or no organization, no
respect
no
for
respect,
law.
so no respect for law. So that the respect for law is actually gonna also bring out. It's not only going to make the government richer, it's also going to bring peace.
Let me ask you the question: how do you see that happening? For example, let me ask you like this: the American films, documentaries of the 50s, and this verse. How can we use this verse and that film to change Nigeria? Or somebody wants to help him. Okay, give him, yeah. Make you save him. He has tried. You have tried.
So, what I had what came to my mind even before you asked this question, one way we can maybe create prosperity. Apart from the census and taking the census of the number of people, one other area the government can look at, especially being that it says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, because God is a God of order. And one area where we don't have order is in our roads in Nigeria. So if we can get an accurate statistic of the number of vehicles that we have in the country, the number of vehicles that come through our borders, they will be able to plan effectively on the road network, because we lose a lot of productive man-hour on our roads alone. So if we can create a system or a road network whereby vehicles don't spend hours, people don't spend hours on the road, I think those lost man-hours can be channeled back into productive activities that can actually benefit the nation.
Okay, but who wants to answer my question? Okay, Dennis.
Okay, the question is how, looking at the verse and also the American film.
Sit down if you have answered.
Film industry from the 50s. It brings to mind I saw a documentary. I thought it was just a documentary about VW, but VW, the Beetle. We all know the Beetle, right?
Beetle, right.
Yeah, the car. So I think, I'm not sure if it's 1946 or something. It was, so I thought it was a documentary, but then it turned out to be an advertisement of the VW car. And they told people how to drive, how convenient it is, and also they showed how people should obey the rules on the road, how to load stuff on, how to park it. Wow. You should not leave it in the rain. You should park it where you should. It makes life convenient. You can take it for holidays, but always take care of it, and it will make life easier for the German population. And that actually, in a nutshell, it was advertising the VW, but also it was showing how it is to be used to make your life easy. It wasn't just about
selling
it. So that is one of the ways we could also use it to implement how every soul. So we come up with a product, and then we show people how to use it the right way through film.
You see, parents did a better job than most of you are doing, though. Because he's a student. I think you have finished school for a long time ago. Okay, go.
Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God, the powers that are ordained of God. So, for
prosperity,
prosperity and
development, civilization.
For civilization, it says let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. Higher powers being the law and the government. Every soul being every person who's a citizen or living in the country, so they'll be able to obey the laws And for that to be done, like you mentioned before, the laws have to have power. And as Perez mentioned, in some places, like in Nigeria, nobody fears the law, nobody fears the police. So we first have to find a way how to give the law power. We have to let there be punishment, let there be consequences for bad actions. I know that there are places where when people, there's a punishment for bribery. And we have to like put that into place, execute that, put that into use so that, and in fact, when people try to bribe people, when criminals try to bribe the law, the criminals should be held up as an example of what not to do, and they should be shamed further instead of being rewarded by getting let free, by getting exactly what they want. And for that, people who enter the law have to be dedicated and have to be true, and they actually have to love their country and want to be a better place and not just be in it for the money or for the ease. So a generation has to rise up who wants to make their country better. Then once the law has power and is an actual threat, then the people will respect it and fear it and not just like break it with knowing that they could just get out of anything with money.
Beautiful, beautiful, okay.
So and then law has power. That's for the development.
So the law has to have power. We have to empower the law enforcement officers, and then make sure that there is penalty and consequences for the breakage of law. Okay.
And then after the people fear the law, then maybe you can implant some rewards for some exceptional good behavior.
Okay.
But that's not important. Then, like the law now that it has power, has to implement the light that's in its mind, the picture.
Okay.
And they should already have a plan and should put into plan. Like the videos in America, that's the videos of America that you showed us. They had a system. They had showed people how to act through the videos. Many governors have to plan, like they build schools, they have hospitals, they build parks for enjoyment. They have, like there's a system, there's a plan for what they want their country or the city or the town to look like. And like, that's why we have welfare systems, and that's why we that's why we have public schools. So anyone could go to free, everyone could afford to go to school, and when that medical attention is needed, they can get that. And that's when the government can implement that, can start building schools and having a system where most people can go to school for free, even the poor people, and have enough money to take care of the poor people. Then the country and system can actually start working and start running. And if anything goes out of line, they'll be punished. And I think that's where the prosperity grows. After the law is established and after they have control and power, then they can carry out their light. And then when people obey and do what they're supposed to do, they fulfill their roles. Like the law commands and the people obey. Because the system should work. You know, everybody should be able to afford to go to get an education. Then once you have an education, you'll be old enough to get a job, and then you can go to higher education, and then get a job, you can have a living to sustain yourself. And you also have the liberty of choosing to start a family or not. You also have the liberty of going to enjoy yourself, but they also give you the right to go to school.
All right, but what about the film? The film in America was used to enlighten the population and to condition them, to make them behave properly. How can we use that same strategy to make people in Nigeria fulfill that verse 1?
Okay, so I was saying that about building schools. So the things that are needed for the citizens to grow up to be prosperous and to be successful, they're there, right?
Right.
The school is there. The
Order, law and order is there, right?
So all that's needed is the motivation.
Okay.
For the citizens. We already have the respect and fear for the law.
Right.
And if people are forced to do things, usually it crumbles apart.
Right.
It's like dictatorship or something.
Right.
You have to make an atmosphere of hope and support and of everybody wanting and dreaming to be successful and to have good lives.
Right.
You can do that through multiple ways. You can, like America did, release videos.
Okay.
Have they can have compulsory lessons at school that are necessary to take that are about morals,
right.
and how to behave as a citizen, like I think in some countries, before, if a person wants to become a citizen, you have to study like all these values of the country and citizens. You can have advertisements, you know, that not like on billboards, you know, like the signs that say everywhere, like please be clean, there are trash cans here, and people. There are things like community service, giving people the opportunity to help with the atmosphere. There's things like soup kitchens, which are just inspiring, and they bring up a cycle of us helping each other, which can give people who have less opportunity, motivate them once they get into a better place to be successful and to help others. And people who are successful, taking time out of their life to help the less successful, is a cycle.
That's like the role of the elite. Are we through with that book on the role of the elite? You submitted it. Okay. And the personal responsibility also. Okay.
So there are multiple ways to like provide that drive, that motivation, but usually it comes strength in numbers.
So you are talking about using media and all those strategies to motivate and educate, or just motivate?
Motivate and educate.
And educate.
Like it's a compulsory thing in, for example, in school, right? Every year you get reminded of the same things, and as the older you go, you get opportunities. Like the school is offering a free field trip to go to the soup kitchen, or to help clean up the park, or to internships to work in the government, or to work at a charity. You know, all these opportunities.
It's like you're already involved in government yourself. That's Zoe. Thank you, Zoe. Thank you.
I would just want to make a comment concerning that verse 1.
Okay.
Especially based on the foundation that Perez already laid.
Okay.
Because for me, many things I read before are just making sense now. The man that is called the father of economics is called Adam Smith.
Adam Smith, yeah.
Yes, and he wrote a book called The Wealth of Nations.
Yes.
And I want to read just a part of it, just like 3 lines out of it. He said, little else is requisite to carry a state to the highest degree of opulence, from the lowest barbarism, but peace, taxes, and the tolerable administration of justice. All the rest being brought about by the natural course of things.
Mm-hmm.
So he actually saw this, the submission to the higher power through taxation, as
a
means of opulence of any country. That a country is going to enjoy immense wealth if and if only the people, the citizens, are willing to submit to their government through taxation. It's unfortunate that all over the world today, taxation and responsibility of the citizen is seen as a burden, is seen as punishment. In fact, in one of my classes, I remember having very, very hard argument with one of my teachers concerning this topic, because Adam Smith also said, that what the greatest sign of freedom for a citizen is that you pay taxes. And I said, no, that can't be true. Taxation is a sign that you're a slave. that we want lesser and lesser taxes. If possible, the best government to us is the government that is not requesting taxes. One of the quickest ways any government in Nigeria will run into problem with the people is if you demand taxes, because everybody wants to evade taxes and run away. And that has become a problem. So if we understand this scripture, which I don't think any church in Africa is going to teach, by the way. That I don't think any church is going to teach this. Like responsibility to the government.
They are not going to teach it.
I don't think this is ever going to come up.
Go ahead.
So it says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God, the powers that be are ordained of God. So we must understand that it is a sign of freedom to pay taxes to the higher powers, and by that we are able to generate wealth for the states.
Okay, now let's go to another verse there, verse 2. Can you read verse 2 for me?
Verse 2, whosoever therefore resisted the power,
resisted the ordinance of God,
and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation.
Okay, stop. They shall receive damnation. Okay, sorry, yeah, it goes on.
For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil.
Okay, stop. This is a system of, this is order through penalty. So how can, who wants to talk about that? Or you or any, okay. How can penalty, the system of penalty, enforced system of penalty in a nation lead to development, national development? Penalty.
From my own view, I think that the system of penalty could lead to development by through deterrence of when you discourage crimes from the society, and also by through discouragement of crime by putting laws and order in place for people to actually really to prevent people not to commit crime. I think that's one way that this verse is actually trying to, I mean, what Bible is emphasizing in this case. Let me read.
Okay, anybody wants to contribute to that? How can they? Yes.
All right. I want to use this very practical. Using Switzerland as a case study, and then I'll juxtapose that with Nigeria. You would realize that we hear unthinkable amounts of money that are stolen by government officials. In short, the money, the loot of Adelaja, we're still even trying to get it back from Switzerland. Now, this is what I want to say, that Switzerland has imbibed and has engraved that consciousness of being responsible and being obedient to law in such a way that in Switzerland, you can't steal. And that is the reason why corrupt officials in Nigeria would steal money from the nation, the money that could develop our nation. I'm talking about billions of dollars. They would take that money and then send it to Switzerland. Now, countries like Switzerland that have these values, they would use this money that was stolen from Nigeria to develop their nation. And that's exactly what happened with Singapore too. Because Singapore became a very lawful nation in such a way that in Singapore, even if you have gum and you throw gum on the floor, if you get caught, you get caught, and then you pay big for it. And in Singapore, the punishments used here as damnation was so serious that people were so scared to break any law, because for any law that you break, you're going to either you go to prison or you get killed. So because of that, Singapore that didn't have any resource, they became a nation that other Asian countries brought in money to keep and to get safe in Singapore, which Singapore used in the development of their nation. So how can we apply this to Nigeria? In Nigeria, starting from the first verse, that everyone is subject to a higher power. And the highest power in the nation will be the law. Meaning, even if the president loots money or takes any money, he is going to face the wrath of the law. In such a way that nobody can steal, let's use government officials, no government official can steal any money and take it out of the nation and go scot-free. So, if anyone that resists the law gets punished by the law, what we will have is that there will be no government official. We would not hear cases of people taking, or of government officials stealing money and taking it out of the country to other nations that use that money that we have from our nation to develop their nation. So what will happen is that all of our resources, all of our, every funds that we have would remain in the nation and would be used to develop the nation, just as it was done in Singapore and in Switzerland.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Okay, let's look. Can you read the next verse then?
All right. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil.
Okay, so this is about relationship between the law enforcers, and the citizens. The law enforcers, that the law enforcement agencies, the law itself, and the citizens. So how do you see that cooperation, interaction, relationship, so that it will be harmonious? So how can harmonious relationship between the law enforcers, and the citizens, how can the harmonious relationship between them bring about national development? Anybody want to comment about that? Yeah, Pearl.
So,
Speak louder, please.
yeah, I'm just going to read.
Okay.
For rulers are not a terror to the good.
Speak louder.
Okay. For rulers are not a terror to the good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then?
Even much more louder.
For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid, for he beareth not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. So based on this verse, there's the question of how does a harmonious relationship between law, the enforcers of law, which are described here, and the citizens, which this is addressed to, how does that a harmonious relationship between the three of those bring about national development? And I think this ties back into the first verse too, because there it mentions that we must be subjects to the higher powers. And one of the things they use to convince us is that all powers is of God. And like we were told at the beginning of this lesson, and even in the previous lesson, God implemented law. He is the first one who came up with law. Order is the right arrangement of things. Order is from God. So when there is a harmonious relationship between law enforcers, the law, and the citizens, everything is in its right places. Because the law enforcers, they make the law which brings about order. They make laws that keep us from just doing whatever we want and being lawless and cutting each other in the road or not stopping when the traffic light says red. These are things that law needs to enforce, or else when we feel like it, we won't respect or fear common sense. But when there is a harmonious relationship between the three, when the law enforcers properly enforce the law and they also follow it, so they don't steal when the law says not to steal, and when the citizens respect the law, that means the society is working properly because they're not doing what would hurt society, because they're constantly keeping things in order by following the law, and because the law is making order in society, there are more opportunities for people to develop, to bring greater good to society, but also to develop themselves and to make money, to pay their tribute to the law enforcement, which again enforces the harmonious relationship between the three. So then everybody is benefiting because the citizens, they can build a good life for themselves. The law enforcers, they get the honor they are due, and they get the tribute that they are due, and the society is in order. It's not in entropy. And on the other hand, you have, for example, we've been talking about Nigeria as an example of where there is disorder. Well, is there any semblance of a harmonious relationship between the law enforcers and the law and the citizens? Not at all. First of all, the law enforcers, even though there's law to some extent, they don't even seem to take it seriously based on their actions. Second of all, the citizens do not take the law enforcers nor the law seriously at all. They have their own opinions, their own church, doctrine that they follow above the law. And so there's disorder everywhere. The country can't develop because without the law, because without there being a harmonious relationship between the law and the citizens, and consequently those who implement the law, law enforcers, there can be no order, which means there can be no national development, only chaos, which will naturally get worse on its own.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay.
Like from what you said, like if there is law and there is law enforcement, that means it is like already solved issue, because if you set laws without people regulating these laws that you put in place, it won't be effective. So the agency, like the law enforcement agency, will really make the law to be effective. Like we know, we as like from where we came from, if there is no law enforcement, there's no way we'll be able to like do it. So setting the law, then put like the agency, the law enforcement, doing their own job, it will now bring national order.
Yep.
So that's what me I say. Like that's what I understood. There must be law enforcement. That's why if you look at the project that people normally do in our country, we discover that they just give out without checking what is going on. People can just do anything they want to do and go. But if there is an agency that is regulating, that is checking all these things, I think people will, keep to the law.
Okay, what about Nollywood in Nigeria? How can Nollywood play a part in this? How do you see that?
Like everything is still based on the government. Like if the government, would intervene in this situation, like to give them the area that they need to relate, the virtue that they need to put in place. Like this is what we want. It will go a long way.
So the government should demand.
The government should be the one demanding, because now they are the high authority. Anything that they are not doing according to the authority, it will not be like allowed in the country. So if the government enforces that in the Nollywood industry, it will really go a long way.
Yeah. Beautiful.